Joshua Cribbs turns disaster into a score!
Ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning.
I am a human being.
Washed it down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey, a margarita, and a Bloody Mary. And I said, Stone Cold, why have one when you can have them both?
Swung out and drilled! Deep right center! Away back! Gone for Tony!
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up.
It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton?
Awful.
How is she awful?
Hates freedom.
And now, Any Given Podcast with your hosts, Brendan Ward and Ethan Simpson.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup! Oh, blocked by James! LeBron James with the rejection!
Hello, everybody, and welcome on back to Any Given Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Brendan Ward, sitting across the internet from my main man,
Ethan Simpson. How are you?
We're not doing too bad today. We could be in person. That's the only thing that would make it better, but we're here. We're here ready to do a good show, watching the Bucks get their butt whooped on the TV over here. Got some tasks at hand we got to talk about. But the first thing we got to talk about, my man, is the numbers don't lie shirts. Yes, it is the off season, but football is still king. It proved it yesterday over the weekend. We'll get to that in a second. But the numbers don't lie shirts, the fantastic shirts you've seen all over. We've had them on Howie. We've had them on ourselves. We've had them on the internet. Couple famous people got them. Larry Nance Jr. No name drops, but numbers don't lie. Where can they get the numbers don't lie shirt, my man?
You can get your Numbers Don't Lie t-shirt for $20 from medium to extra large, and from 2X to 3X for $25, and that's at the that's at KentStagePosters.com. That's KentStagePosters.com.
And if you didn't get that or can't spell it, it's sitting right in the middle of our screen for you right there. You aren't going to want to miss out on that. What else can they get at KentStagePosters.com?
You can get a variety of posters from almost any of your favorite shows at the Kent Stage. I mean, we're talking about multiple Todd Rundgrens. We're talking about oh my gosh, I can't even think. Eric Burden. There's so many that you can get there. You can get Robert Cray posters. The list goes on. You just have to check it out for yourself. That's KentStagePosters.com.
Speaking of the Kent Stage, can I get a carbon leaf posters on KentStagePosters.com?
Yes, you can.
I know for sure you can. And the reason I bring it up is because I wanted to let you all know that Carbon Leaf is moving from the Kent Stage to Robbins Theater due to some construction delays, but that is June 10th. Don't miss it. Get your tickets now at RobbinsTheater.com for Carbon Leaf. It's going to be an electric show down at Robbins Theater, the partner of the Kent Stage.
And Robbins Theater is just a stone's throw away from the Kent Stage.
Yeah, just a hop, skip, and a jump. You were already going to head to Kent. Might as well head to Warren. Enjoy your time. You're not even, once you're in there, once you get the rocking, you ain't even gonna know where you're at anyways. So might as well just go enjoy the show, even if it's 5 minutes down the road. But moving on, time for some football, my man. Numbers continue to increase at OTAs. Now it's rumored that Baker and company are not coming. They're supposedly working down in Texas. The entire offense is supposedly working down in Texas with Baker, making that happen. We talked a little last week between ourselves about how we were pretty confident. If the offense don't want to show up, whatever. That's where all the veterans are, right? Defense needed to show up. Guess who's in town? The defense. And I'm not just talking Myles Garrett anymore. John Johnson III's here now too. All the new boys are here now too. It's time to get this defense rolling and look ahead to be a contender in the AFC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that the offense is down there working down in Texas. Obviously, Baker's home state, so that makes sense. And I like that they're all working together. They've been working out. They were working out down in, I think, in Florida, right, for most of the offseason.
I think most of like the skill position guys, the receivers and the quarterback, I think now they're getting like I think Njoku was down there, but I think in Texas they're getting like Hooper, some of the line guys, Chubb, Hunt, all these guys kind of headed down there to make this happen. Now that's just rumored. Obviously, they're never going to be able to fully confirm everyone that's down there because they're in Texas and everyone that reports on the Browns is up in Cleveland. So we'll never get the full extent of the workout, but from what it seems is the Browns are willing to put in the work to ensure that they don't have a divisional round exit again.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I love that those guys are working together, getting that offense ready together, because most of them have been together for more than 2 years. Granted, you got the new guys, I guess not new guys, second-year guys like Hooper and such, but these guys know the playbook from last year. So absolutely, I think that's a great thing. Speaking of OTAs, I didn't want to bring this up, but I'm going to have to. Aaron Rodgers is going to miss mandatory OTAs for the Packers if he doesn't show up on Tuesday. And the Packers have I don't have the exact number, but I think it's $93,700 and around $50 that they could fine Aaron Rodgers for not coming, or they could just brush it off and say that he had a valid reason not to show up. But look what he's been doing the last, couple weeks. He's been out partying with his fiance and all these people.
His fiance, her boy's Miles Teller, gets punched in the face by a wedding planner. Aaron Rodgers is living all sorts of crazy life. It's funny that you brought it up because when I was writing all this stuff down, I was debating because I had just got the notification. The reason I didn't put it down, and I'm going to cop to it, is because I couldn't find that number, that 97 whatever. I knew it was in the 90s, but I couldn't get real close to it. I didn't know if it was 9. I still don't even know what it is. But yeah, upwards of $90,000 a day if he doesn't show up on Tuesday. And Aaron Rodgers is getting ready to walk away from something. It's going to take maybe me or you 2 or 3 years to make.
So Adam Schefter said Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers is not expected to attend Green Bay's mandatory minicamp that starts Tuesday, per source. Green Bay could opt to fine him $93,085 for his absences, or they could make it an excused absence and waive the fine. But otherwise, Rodgers is not expected to be there. I don't blame him.
So what we're saying is Tuesday's a pretty big turning point in that relationship right there. If Rodgers ends up showing up, maybe all things are repaired and Green Bay's going forward with their franchise guy. Rodgers doesn't show up. Green Bay has a choice to make. Do we try to make amends with him by not finding him and letting him take his time and maybe figure himself out? Or do we start finding him and just be like, well, if you're not going to show up for us, we're not going to show up for you, and just completely ruin the relationship?
Yeah, that's a tough call. If I was the Green Bay Packers, I'd be on the phone right now with Aaron Rodgers trying to mend that. But the disrespect they've shown him the last 2 years, come on now. They drafted Jordan Love in the first round while Aaron Rodgers still has 5 years left in him at most. Come on, man.
Trust me, I get it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is we can argue one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's got one Super Bowl.
Yeah, but look at all the guys in the Hall of Fame that don't have a Super Bowl. Dan Marino. Look at Terry Bradshaw has Super Bowl. So what am I talking about? The guys that don't have Super Bowls that still are enshrined in Canton, Ohio.
Trust me, I know at first ballot Aaron Rodgers is there. That's not what I'm saying. The thing is I think the Green Bay Packers may have failed Aaron Rodgers because they have seemed to adopt this mentality that as long as you have a decent number one receiver, Aaron Rodgers should be fine. They lived the first 10 years. They lived with the fact that Jordy Nelson was a top guy, and that should be the reason Aaron Rodgers should take them to the Super Bowl every single year. Let's ignore the fact. Let's ignore the fact that his defense has always sucked. Like, he hasn't really had a top defense. His best defense was probably when he had A.J. Hawk in the middle and Clay Matthews Jr. On the outside, and neither are going to be in the Hall of Fame. The third. Okay, so neither are going to be in the Hall of Fame. They're just recognizable names. A.J. Hawk is probably more recognizable for being on Pat McAfee's show now and dating Brady Quinn's sister. Like, that's what people outside of Ohio know A.J. Hawk for. They don't like, if you tell me anything about A.J. Hawk's Green Bay career, like, I never want to knock a guy that made the NFL. That's great. And he had a decent career, but what stands out to you about A.J. Hawk's career besides the fact that he was on that Super Bowl team? That's it. Like, and that's his hair, right? That's what we know about A.J. Hawk. So Green Bay has always been on this thing. You got Devontae Adams, you should be fine. Well, Aaron Jones is a pretty good running back right now. So you have another weapon, you should be fine. But never mind that. Like, you have a defense that rivaled the Browns and the Cowboys last year for one of the worst defenses in football, and you still were in a game against the eventual Super Bowl champions in the NFC title game and choose to kick a field goal instead of letting the elite of the elite quarterback go for it on fourth down. And go.
I've said it. I've said it once, and I'll say it a million times. It's the same thing as the Seahawks Patriots when they're on the goal line and they decide to throw it instead of running Marshawn Lynch. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback, like you said, debatably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, but yet you decide to kick a field goal that wouldn't even put you in tying range. It's ridiculous. Whoever decided to make that decision should be fired.
To me, it's worse, man. If Russell completes that pass, they win a Super Bowl. And Crosby, that's his name. Crosby's their kicker, right?
Yeah.
Their kicker hit that field goal. And it ends up not mattering. Here's the thing. Russell hits that throw and Malcolm Butler doesn't get that pick. The Seahawks are Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
All that kick did for Green Bay was give the greatest of all time the ball back with a chance to seal a Super Bowl trip. That's what he does.
They had 2 timeouts left as well. I don't know. Ridiculous. That's why, hey, I guess that's why I'm not making the big bucks.
That's why he wants to go. Aaron, get out of there. Wherever Aaron goes, they're going to be Super Bowl contenders. I mean, if Atlanta, and we'll segue right into that, if Atlanta is throwing Julio Jones away for a second and a third round pick, by all means, go wherever you want, because Aaron Rodgers is 100% affordable to anybody. Because Atlanta sends Julio Jones to Tennessee for a second and third round pick. The second round pick's in 2022 next year. The third round pick's in 2023. Atlanta did give a 6th round pick back in 2023 with that. But did you see anything less than a first going for Julio before this trade?
I mean, no. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I'm not going to be one of those guys that say he's the best wide receiver, because anytime anybody gets traded, last year Hopkins got traded. He's the best wide receiver in the NFL. A couple years ago in 19, when they sent Odell to Cleveland, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. That's what skeptics and certain media personnel want you to think. They want you to think anytime anybody gets traded, blah, 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 they're the best. They're the best. Just so you keep tuning in to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not under any ilk that Julio is still the best in the NFL. I'll probably argue with anybody that he's top 5, just because of the tenure and the dominance he's had over that tenure. But there's no arguing since the Super Bowl loss. Julio hasn't always been there. He's asked for more money and still hasn't always been there. He never has a high touchdown number, which matters in the NFL. You need to score touchdowns, especially with his size. So, but my question is if Julio doesn't get a first round pick, does anybody, who in the NFL right now, if all hypotheticals were off, who at the wide receiver position gets a first round pick in a trade?
Oof. That's a tough one. Because, like I just said, I just name dropped 3 of the best wide receivers in the NFL: Odell, Hopkins, and Julio. And they all got what did the Browns trade for Odell? We gave them Julius Peppers
of those
and
3
a second round, right?
No, they gave up 17 that year, remember? Because that was the year they picked Greedy in the second round.
Oh,
the year after. I was going to say, you named those 3, and Odell is the only one that commanded a first-round pick.
There you go.
And sure, maybe you could say that Cleveland got taken advantage of at one of their lower points in their time. They had a guy in John Dorsey who was doing anything he could to reverse the fortune of this roster, coming off a previous year of 0-16, and then finding out that they had a guy in Baker Mayfield who could be a franchise quarterback. If coached right, they were like, well, we'll get him Odell. So maybe Cleveland was taking advantage of getting a first round pick, because if DeAndre is not getting one, if Julio's not getting one, Stephon Diggs didn't get a first round pick, who is there? Like, who is left? That's arguably 4 people right there that are in the top 10 of every single person's bracket.
Yeah, I'm seriously trying to think of, if that's the way the NFL is going, then no one.
Yeah, I don't see,
and it's not going to be like that for a while.
Yeah, you definitely, like, maybe one of these young guys in a couple years, maybe Justin Jefferson takes off and starts having Hall of Fame like career, and then he maybe commands one, or dare I say, like a Donovan Peoples-Jones, even though he didn't show flashes like Justin Jefferson, just to kind of keep us in Cleveland here. Just a young guy like that ends up taking off Hall of Fame. I know, like I said, Donovan Peoples-Jones is way farther than Justin Jefferson from that, but still showed flashes. All of these young guys that showed flashes last year or the last couple years, sure, if they step themselves up and take that trajectory, maybe, like you said. But right now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, probably not. But moving on from like just the optics of the value of Julio Jones, what does this mean for Cleveland? Are they still because me and you believe they're number 2, right? We believe it's Kansas City, Cleveland, right there. Does this take Cleveland down and put Tennessee at 2? You've always been a big proponent of this Tennessee team. Love Derrick Henry. You've been a big arguer for Ryan Tannehill. But does this put them above Cleveland, or?
No, not at all. Do you want to know why?
Why?
They have Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, correct?
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns have Baker Mayfield at quarterback, correct?
Yeah.
So the Tennessee Titans have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones now at wide receiver, correct?
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns have Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. at wide receiver, as well as Hollywood Higgins, who's very sneaky. A lot of people overlook him, but he is a great wide receiver, correct?
If I had to argue, of all those receivers, I'm taking Julio, Odell, Juice, Rashard, then A.J. Brown, if I'm being honest.
Okay. And here's the thing. Who do the Titans have at running back? Derrick Henry.
That's their edge.
Correct?
Yeah.
Who do the Cleveland Browns have at running back? They have a 2-headed monster known as Nick Chubb, who is also a power back. Maybe not as big as Derrick, but he still has that speed that Derrick does not have. Derrick is more of a power, just pure. Nick Chubb is a dual threat running back. And then on top of that, they have our guy, Kareem Hunt. Okay? I feel like the Titans, Marley, get out. He just opened up the door. I feel like the Titans are more of a run-heavy team because they can rely on Derrick Henry. The Browns, they can rely on anybody on that field, not to mention our tight ends. Speaking of our offensive line, I think the Browns definitely have that edge. So I'm taking Browns over Titans, and that's not me being a homer. That's me being a football knowledge fan.
Here's where I agree with you, and it's not necessarily the offense, because I believe, like you said, wide receiver on wide receiver, I'll call it a stalemate, just because of I think Julio is the best. A.J. Brown is somewhere between Juice and Rashard Higgins, maybe below both. The two-headed monster, Derrick Henry, clash. I'll give those a stalemate. Browns win offensive line. Browns win quarterback. The Browns, even though I haven't seen the product yet, I'm already 100% confident the Browns win on defense. Far and away. I wrote on here, Titans are last year's Browns. They could have a very, very good offense, but you're going to have to win games 45-43. It's just a fact. Like, they aren't going to stop a paperweight flying through the air. Like, it's just not going to happen. The Titans might sport out a defense this year that's worse than the Cowboys was last year. And as a Cowboys fan behind me, myself, you know what I'm saying? I watched that team for 16, 17 games just be abysmal on the defensive side of the ball and hope Andy Dalton could keep him in games. The difference is Ryan Tannehill's a slightly better quarterback than Andy Dalton and now has the weapons to kind of mask it.
That's kind of disrespectful to Ryan Tannehill.
I'm here to be disrespectful.
Right,
he's done some stuff in Tennessee. I'll give him that, right? But he's also had the King. He's had King behind him, and they've rode that boy like a monster. When's he going to slow down?
That's what I was saying when I said that they're a run-heavy team. Now they have Julio. Now they're going to have to pass more. So, if they're, I can see them being last year's Browns, right? They're going offense heavy, but their defense just isn't there. Just like we didn't have a secondary last year. But look what the Browns have done over the offseason for their secondary, for their linebackers, getting Clowney, even though Clowney was on the Titans last year. I get it. He was injury prone, blah, blah, blah. But you get what I'm saying.
Trust me, 100%. I think the edge goes to defense because of the top three teams right there that we argue, and we'll put the Bills in there because I still think they could be better than the Titans as well. Of those top four teams, I think the Browns took the furthest step forward. Everyone agrees that the Browns had the best offseason of any team in all of football, except for maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And all they really did was make sure they kept everyone.
Yeah, and speaking of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're seeing they're losing their pick this year to the Navy. The Navy will not let him push back his what was it? Deployment? Not deployment, but
his commission. That's what they called it, like what he's supposed to be doing and stuff like that, which is crazy. And we've seen, like, we haven't seen something like this happen before, but we've seen where the Navy's like, yeah, if you want to go do this and pursue this, we'll let you, but just know you're going to be coming back to us at some point. So just be ready for that. And for them to do that, like, he must be pretty important in something that they do for sure for them to be like, hey, we're not letting you go, which is crazy.
Yeah, very strange because there's a lot of people that sign up every single day to be in the Navy that didn't get drafted in the NFL to the Super Bowl champions.
And but the argument to that is there's a lot of people that sign up every day, but I guess there's not a lot of people that go to Annapolis.
I'm sorry, I lost you for a second. You kind of froze.
Yeah, we got you a little bit frozen. There we go. You're moving.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Or is it me that's frozen?
We're moving now. We're cool. Yeah, you're good.
We're good?
Yeah,
all
we're
right,
good.
Cool.
Back online.
All right, cool. But yeah, like I was saying, there's so many people that sign up for the Navy every single day that why do you have to take this, draft pick that's going, his whole dream is to go to the NFL. And you can't just grant him like, all right, hey, maybe when your career's over, come back to the Navy.
And with how hard it is to enter the NFL, who knows when that'll be? You can't wait a year. You can't wait a couple years. How
Right.
really is he going to be a Hall of Fame guy? If so, then like, okay, then he ended up in the right career path, right? If he ends up being a Hall of Fame corner, then and you let him in the NFL, then he did the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Make $1 million more dollars, multiple millions of more dollars to do this. But you were just like, no, we've got you for at least 4 years. So just weird, man. It's just weird and I know once you sign on that dotted line, they own you.
I know, but it's one guy, you know. It's one guy.
It's one guy who I feel certainly could have his shoes filled pretty easily. I don't know what he does in the Navy, but I'm sure there's someone below him that does the same thing, unless he's an admiral, and then he's very high ranking. I
don't think he's an admiral.
Which I doubt, right? Like I doubt he's super high up in ranks, especially if he went to Annapolis for the sole purpose of playing football, and he's that good at playing football that he got drafted into the NFL. But who knows? But you got anything else?
Cameron Kinley. Yeah. That is so crazy. They banned him from playing in the NFL. That's just that's just wild.
It is very wild, and I think it'll do a lot in deterring people from choosing to go play for Navy. A historic school who's pretty good at football, and I think this stunt right here may deter some recruiting that they had.
Oh, absolutely. Because I mean, you see, there's plenty of players that went to Navy or Army or Air Force that have won the NFL no problem.
Yeah, it's one person, which is kind of weird, which makes me wonder, like, what does he do that's just irreplaceable?
Yeah, that's a pretty strange thing.
But
let's see.
You got anything else in football? I can't really think of anything else that happened. We covered Rodgers. We covered Julio. We covered how this affects the Browns. We got the kid from the Navy that can't play for Tampa Bay.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, he wasn't even drafted. He was an undrafted free agent.
Okay, still minimum is more than what they're going to be paying him. You know what I'm saying? A lot more. 10 times more, 100 times more, maybe. Well, see, he ain't
said he is required to report to the U.S. Navy as an ensign. I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
your sister's in the Navy.
Yeah, I'll ask. I don't know. I'll ask. We'll get back to you on that one maybe next week once we figure out what all that is. But yeah, that's just wild to be like, nah, bro. You can't have your dream. You made the league. And he's undrafted. What's it, a summer? Right. What are the odds, right? Like, if he makes the team, then cool on him, bro. 666 vet men learned that today. Thought it was pretty impressive. So, okay, you'll get that. That's rookie minimum. Oh, that's a lot more than the Navy. But, like, come on, man. If he's undrafted, let him take his shot.
Yeah.
You could have him back in 6 months, maybe. Man can't report in September.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I don't know. But you know what? Like you said, that once you sign that dotted line, you know, you're theirs.
Yeah, it's wild. But you want to get into the NBA?
Sure, let's go.
The first round was kind of wild, my man. Over in the East, you just had, I guess you can't say a lot of unexpected happened. Philadelphia beat Washington. Philly was the 1 seed. They beat Washington 4-1. Russell Westbrook has to try to get out of Washington. They're really not doing anything. Bradley Beal needs to get out of there as well. Let them move on from that. the biggest story of the first round in the East was Atlanta beating New York. Now everybody was sold on the fact that the New York Knicks were back, and Trae Young said otherwise, knocking the Knicks out in 5 games 4-1. The Milwaukee Bucks sweep last year's Eastern Conference champions 4-0, send the Miami Heat packing, and then the Brooklyn Nets beat Boston. Kyrie stomps on the logo in Boston, but Brooklyn beats them 4-1. Brooklyn looking pretty scary, destroying Milwaukee the first 2 games of their second round series. What you want to go over what happened in the West in the first round?
Yeah. So the Utah Jazz beat the Memphis Grizzlies 4-1. The Los Angeles Clippers beat the Dallas Mavericks 4-3 on Sunday night in a surprising game. Everybody thought that the Mavericks were going to come out and play hard. Everybody thought that the Clippers were done, but board man gets paid, and he came out and played as he did, and Luka just kind of looked like LeBron back in the day. Back when it was him and the Cavs were a bunch of old scrubs, and Mo Will and Boobie Gibson.
Yeah, how about him carrying that team through all of that, and then Porzingis after the series being like, "I'm not happy with my role." Well, play better, bro. You ain't you ain't done shit since second year in New York. Like, play better, and maybe you'll have a bigger role. Like Luka is 2 years from either being, I'm stuck, I'm the next Dirk, or he himself is going to be like, I gotta go.
Yeah. They interviewed him on Monday and asked him if he thinks he's going to get a big extension next year and a big payday, and he just kind of smiled and laughed.
I mean,
so
he's doing stuff goats do. Like,
yeah.
I definitely can't be like, oh, don't pay him. He's doing stuff that we've only ever seen by the goats of the sport, the LeBrons, the Kobes, the Wilts, the Mikes, all of them, like those guys,
the Dirks,
the Dirks, things like that. Goats, thing we can argue, and you could say I think LeBron's the best ever, but if I say there's 10 goats of the NBA, you know what I'm saying, the all-time legends.
Right.
After that, what happened in the West?
So Denver beat Portland, and Portland and their head coach decided to mutually agree to part ways. And that's when the conversation came up. What is going to happen with Dame Dollar? And everybody's thinking that Dame's going to ask to be released, or they're just going to, clear house, get rid of CJ McCollum, which I read an article and they said the 4 teams that CJ McCollum's going to, the Cavs were not one, but I guarantee CJ would ask his agent to come to Cleveland.
CJ is a big gets us guy, right? If he's done in Portland,
from Canton, Ohio,
right? If he's done in Portland and he doesn't really have an opportunity to go somewhere that's going to give him a title guaranteed, he might come home. That's just seems like seems like the guy that CJ is. But yeah, to be fair, Dame kind of started that conversation with his Instagram post. When does preparation meet opportunity or something like that? Basically, dissing the Trailblazers. But he is one person, if they aren't going to get better this offseason, if they aren't going to try to add somebody, let him go. He's been so loyal, and it's time for him to go win a title. It's and I'm not sure how they get better unless they somehow get LeBron to go play the 3 there.
Yeah, but it's
not going to happen.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that here in a second. Speaking of LeBron and going other places, but either Dame stays in Portland and they restructure the whole team around him, and they decide to start spending money where money needs to be spent instead of spending money on washed up Melo and other guys like that. And they bring in some actual big guys, and big guys that can play in the paint and can also hit the 3 or hit the long 2.
got to bring in somebody versatile like that, man. They got to get better somehow. That team should be too good for first round exits.
Absolutely. So moving on, my team in the playoffs, you know me, I'm a big Arizona guy. The Phoenix Suns defeat the Los Angeles Lakers in the series 4-2, which might be surprising to everybody, but I said it earlier when they added Chris Paul. I said that's exactly what they need because they were the best team in the bubble last year.
I've always been a fan of Devin Booker. A guy that really is the first guy that I've seen in a while that could just, if he wanted to, could go get you 50. He just has to be willing to take that many shots. So you called them your team. They are now the Any Given Podcast team because I was rooting for LeBron, just because of the ties there and stuff like that. But now that he's gone, and I really couldn't even be mad, man. They thoroughly got outplayed by that Phoenix Suns squad, and I'd love to see Chris Paul get a title. So let's go Suns. Let's take it all the way. Because I truly believe they can beat Denver in this series. Game one just kicked off here on Monday night, and whoever they play next, Clippers or Utah, I truly believe they can give either one of those guys a run for their money too. Chris Paul, I'm sure it obviously depends on his health with that shoulder that he was nursing in that first round series. But I think if you could take down that Lakers squad, who even with only LeBron should have been better. And I know I don't know what they do either this offseason, but they need another guy. Dennis Schroeder can't be the third star.
No, and almost every single NBA reporter you hear, they talk about what did the Lakers do? They need to get rid of this guy. Stephen A. Multiple people are like, they need to get rid of him. What are they doing? He doesn't have the heart and drive to be a championship player, But so earlier you were talking about Portland maybe needs a LeBron. Speaking of LeBron leaving, I've seen that attitude before in LeBron James, where he just sits out the final 5 minutes and then just walks off the court without talking to anybody, just walks into the locker room. I've seen that. I saw that in, 2010? I saw that in 14 when he was with the Heat. I saw that in 18 when he was back with the Cavs. I've seen that LeBron mentality before, and he seems like he's done. And then he goes into his press conference, doesn't talk about the game, just promotes, says he's not going to play for Team USA this summer. He's going to play for the Toon Squad. All right, bro, keep promoting your movies. Do you want to be the greatest ever, or do you want to be a movie star? Do you want to be... I mean, I guess Jim Brown did it, but Jim Brown had the right to do what he did.
Jim Brown won a bunch of titles. He still stands as probably the greatest running back ever. Sure, there's arguments for Peyton. Sure, there's arguments for Barry Sanders. There's arguments for LT and what he did. But Jim Brown still probably stands as the best to ever do it at the running
OJ.
OJ is another guy that gave him a run for his money, but still, I think Jim Brown probably stands alone at the top. LeBron, like you said, to an extent, you've seen this before. The thing I haven't seen before, this team was helpless. For 2 games in a row to close out that series, that Lakers team didn't look like they belonged on an NBA floor. There was one guy that did, and he didn't go full Super Saiyan LeBron. He averaged? He didn't get a triple-double in any of the games, and I don't think he scored over 30 in either of those final 2 games either. So I
think he was averaging about, I think it was 19.6 points per game or something like that. It was something uncharacteristic, or maybe 22 or something like that, but it was uncharacteristically low for LeBron James.
I think through game 4, he was like 19.6, and then he upped it a little bit to like 25 in those final 2 games. Sure, he added 5 extra points, but when you lose Anthony Davis, you need more than 5 extra points from LeBron. You need 15 extra points from LeBron, 20 extra points from LeBron, and it just didn't come. And you could say all you want. Well, Kyle Kuzma didn't show up. No, he didn't. Dennis Schroeder didn't show up. No, he played like 30 minutes that one game and didn't score a single point. I can't argue with that. Alex Caruso always seems to have at least a little bit to give you. Wes Matthews, when that guy ends up being your second best player in an entire series, you're in trouble, especially when he's supposed to be 9th or 10th guy on the bench.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and then they tried to bring out, I just don't understand. Charles Barkley was saying this after the game, and he was saying this at halftime. Why did they try to bring out Anthony Davis for 5 minutes in the first quarter? He could only play 5 minutes. He could barely walk. He couldn't run backwards because he had that groin injury. He could only go sideways. It was like playing chess, Yeah. So he said that they should, the Lakers should fire their training staff after that because he shouldn't have been out there. If anything, they should have been sitting him in case it went to Game 7.
If you're going to fire anybody for that, it's got to be Vogel. I'm sure the training staff probably advised against it, and Vogel probably talked him into it. So if anybody's got to go, it's got to be Vogel. And as much as you could argue that he did very well at keeping that team defensively focused while LeBron and Anthony Davis were out during the regular season, you could also argue like he completely abandoned everything that worked against Phoenix. Just that team that showed up in the regular season without LeBron and Anthony Davis is not that team that showed up in the first round. Didn't even look close because that team that showed up without LeBron and Anthony Davis still were able to make the playoffs. LeBron and Anthony Davis had nothing to do with this team making the playoffs. Maybe the first 2 weeks of the season, but since then, Anthony missed 30 of the 70-some games. LeBron missed nearly the same. Anthony just came back sooner. So, LeBron played 3 games before the playoffs. I'm not giving him any excuses. He lost. I'm not giving him the ankle. I'm not giving him nothing. They lost. LeBron gets bounced for the first time in his career. What I'm not going to let Jordan fans do, though, is start putting graphics up that say that Jordan only has 1 more year because they're not going to count the Wizards season. Because if you're not going to count the Wizards seasons, then you can't count the Lakers seasons.
Yeah, that is true. Absolutely true.
I mean, what argument do you have for not counting him? He was on that team, right? LeBron was on that team,
I guess.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're not going to count Jordan's Wizards seasons, let's take a look at LeBron's seasons. A first season where he missed the entire year, so his team didn't make the playoffs. Second season, he got forced into the bubble. He wins the freaking title. And this year, he missed half the year for an ankle injury. Again, no excuses. They lost. Go Phoenix. Let's go go ahead and go win yourself an NBA title. Kudos to the Clippers, like you said in that series, for coming back and winning that series after falling down 2-0, losing both games 1 and 2 at home. Luka, like you said, looks goated. Looks like he's on his way to being the next guy. He's LeBron, KD, Luka, James Harden. You're going to start mentioning him in those conversations a couple years down the line. My biggest question for you is, are the Atlanta Hawks for real?
I wouldn't say, excuse me. I wouldn't say finals real, but close to it. They need to keep building on that team. Trae Young looks very hungry. He looks just like a hawk that's looking for some eggs or some vermin running around. But I wouldn't say they're ready for the finals this year, but if they keep building and performing the way they have been, give them 2 years.
Yeah, I thought Milwaukee or Brooklyn probably coming out of the East over there, so I get what you're saying. The way Brooklyn has looked through 7 games of the playoffs for them, I'm not sure any team can keep score with them except for Milwaukee in those first 2 games. 20-point victory over 20 points in game 1, and I don't even know what game 2 ended up being, but at one point with like 7 minutes left, they were leading by 30 some points. But do you think the Hawks can beat Philadelphia? Do they beat the Sixers, or was game 1 a fluke?
That's what everybody keeps talking about, like Charles Barkley and, the TNT guys. They've been talking about it. If Embiid is back and healthy, then the 76ers have the upper hand. But if he's not, then the Hawks, the scrappy young team will come in and just, like a Hawk would, tear out their throat with their talons.
Yeah. I like that team, and like a couple years down the line could very well be contenders in the East with some of these teams fading away. We'll see what Brooklyn looks like in 2 years after they realize they can't pay all three of those guys for a continuous amount of time. Just doesn't work that way. We've already pretty much talked about this. Brooklyn seems scary. Does the James Harden injury change anything for you? And I know it really doesn't look like it with the 30-point win tonight.
No, I don't think so at all.
They've
been playing with, like, the big three hasn't really been. I mean, you take out Harden and you put in Blake Griffin. I mean, and Blake was on fire tonight.
A putback dunk from the free throw line, bro. Kyrie missed a 3 and he jumped from the free throw line for a putback dunk. We haven't seen that Blake since like year 5 in LA. Like what he was just like, man, I'm in Detroit. We ain't winning shit. Screw this. Like kind of he pulled a Drummond on Detroit pretty much. He was like, Drummond, how'd you get him to get you out of here? Man, I thought I was injured. So and he did. Blake looks like everything we thought they'd be. They look scary, like you said. Is there anybody that can give them the run? Do you think the Sixers, if they come over Atlanta, can give them a run in the Eastern Conference Finals?
No, I think it's going to be Brooklyn, Phoenix. What do you think?
I think I'd love to see Phoenix. I think it's a much harder road for them to get there than it is for Brooklyn. I do think Brooklyn wins the East, and I'm going to pick Phoenix to win the West. But I think if you want some, like there's 2 ways we could see Brooklyn not win a title. You play a team that has equal star power in the LA Clippers, or you play a team that's led by a guy who has arguably the best basketball mind ever in Chris Paul.
Okay. Yeah. I can agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
But Devin Booker would have to be big in an NBA Finals against the Brooklyn Nets. Huge.
Yes, absolutely. So, do you want to move on to NASCAR?
Yeah, let's get into that. What do we got? We got 10 minutes left. NASCAR, you got something for this day? We'll add it. If you don't, we'll just finish it with NASCAR.
I do.
All right, then.
I do have something.
Go ahead and take over, man. It's all you.
All right, so NASCAR on Sunday at Sonoma Raceway. I believe it's Raceway. Don't quote me on that. Sonoma Raceway. We'll just say it like that. It was an exciting race. Obviously, road tracks, you get these cars that are used to speedways that are going through where they do IndyCar and motorcycle races, but you're just taking these cars that are supposed to go 200 miles per hour and they're going around this, they're calling it the carousel. And so most of the race it was Kyle Larson leading, who was sitting on the pole, followed by Chase Elliott, who started on the pole second. And then it was Martin Truex Jr., who started 19 on the pole, but he ended up at third. And so the whole second half of the race, these three were just going back and forth. It was actually a really exciting race. But Kyle Larson ends up winning it at the end, his second in a row. Brendan, you got the stats. You want to go over this?
So yeah, because I pulled it up after you told me Wynn unfortunately missed yesterday's race. But like you said, that's 2 wins in a row. But if you date back 5 races, he has also 3 top 2 finishes, which means he finished second for 3 races before that. So if you go back a month and a half, Kyle Larson is the hottest racer in all of NASCAR. You pull up even more stats. There isn't anybody in all of NASCAR that has within 400 laps led of him. He has over 1,150. The next closest person, Denny Hamlin, with 748. Denny Hamlin currently leads points. Like you said, we were kind of confused, like we both went over. Kind of confused about that. No wins. 6 less stage wins than him. Over 400 less laps led than him. I get maybe it just depends on how they're scoring it. I'm not a perfect analyst of the scoring, but it seems to me that Kyle Larson is just dominating the field of NASCAR right now, and stats are there and numbers don't lie. Like we preach here on this show, numbers don't lie, and numbers right now are saying Kyle Larson deserves to be up top, no matter how mean you feel about Chase Elliott and William Byron, who are right there neck and neck with him.
Yeah, and William Byron was there with those guys too, all race. And then, unfortunately, I think there was about 35, 40 laps to go, and he ended up getting into a little bit of a accident, and or it was probably more like 60 laps to go, and he got into a little bit of an accident, so he could not finish the race. But he was up there with those guys too. He was riding at about 6. So those guys were in the top 3. He was right there with them.
Leave it to an accident for my boy to miss his first top 10 all year.
Yeah. That's, hey, Robin's racing, huh?
It happens, man. Speaking of, I don't know much about the story, but Heidi was telling me the other day, or actually earlier today, William Byron was told by their race team that he's going to be driving the truck as well.
Oh, driving the truck series?
Yeah. And Kyle Busch is pissed.
Oh, yeah. He's taking up his spot?
Yeah. He's taking, yeah. So I thought it was just a little nugget because of how we feel about Kyle Busch, little nugget that my boy's taking his spot.
Good. Kyle Busch is just a crybaby.
Good. Yeah, go cry to your mom and leave me alone. The less times a week I got to see Kyle Busch, the better.
Exactly. All right, so moving on from NASCAR, we're going to hop right into this day in sports history. June 7th, 2010, in the MLB draft, Southern Nevada outfielder Bryce Harper was the first overall pick by the Washington Nationals. As you guys know, he had a tremendous career with the Nationals, but decided to sell out. We know about selling out and going to other teams. He decided to sell out and go to the Philadelphia Phillies for a $300 million contract. And he thought he was going to win the series there, but they've just kind of been,
He got what he deserved.
Yep.
He left, they won.
Yeah, exactly.
He left, they won. I can't really, you're no longer a National World Series. That's how it works. You left, we won. So the Nationals went and laughed all the way to the World Series. So, but that is pretty. He got drafted. You know what high school he went to?
He went to the same high school as Tate Martell, right?
Bishop Gorman, yeah.
Tate Martell went there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I remember QB1. I remember them talking about that.
It's the most famous high school in Nevada.
I mean, I would just hate to be born and raised in Nevada.
I mean, I only know it because my uncle was a trainer there. His name's Corky Field, and he was telling me about Bryce Harper when they were helping him train, and that's just a cool little tidbit. I remember we were talking about it during Game 5 of the 2016 NBA Finals.
There you go.
Look at that photographic memory pulling up. You got anything else for him, my man?
You can follow me on Twitter at ETHSimpsonCGOD. You can follow me on Instagram at ETHSimpson. You can follow my main man at
BWardCLE on Twitter. at B.Ward52 on Instagram. Do not forget to follow the podcast at Podcast Given on Twitter, as you see up there in the middle. At Any Given Podcast on Instagram, Facebook.com/Any Given Podcast. Go ahead and give us a like. And then if you're on our YouTube checking us out, looking at our beautiful faces, go ahead and click the subscribe button. You aren't going to want to miss this. We're still doing a giveaway. We get 500 followers by the end of June. We're going to give away a Numbers Don't Lie t-shirt. Continue to follow us on Twitter. Retweet our tweet. We'll make it happen. Thank you guys for tuning in to another fantastic episode of Any Given Podcast. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
God bless. Stay blessed.